All right, so that's what you're hearing from the Berkshire managers who are actually on the front lines trying to deal with all of this. There's been a lot more to talk about with them this time around, and we will continue to hear pieces about how they're managing with all of this. Joining us right now to talk more about Berkshire and what we've been seeing over the years is Activision founder Bobby Kotick. He is a longtime Berkshire watcher and been coming here for more than 30 years, I think, Bobby, which is really hard to imagine.
I don't know exactly when I started. It was when I bought my first Berkshire share. I think that was in '94, but I don't remember exactly.
Why'd you start coming, and what brings you back every year?
For me, this is probably the most important event that's a reminder of how important capitalism is as the foundation of democracy. And so that's, it's almost like a religious experience from that perspective. Just the constant reminder of like how integral to our democracy capitalism is.
Do you learn something every year when you're here, or is it a resetting of what you already know?
Well, I think probably the greatest insight I just took away from the last couple of hours is there's this great perception of market volatility that's existed over the, let's say the last 3 or 4 months. But as Warren pointed out, the S&P is down 3%. That's not much volatility. And I think it takes someone like Warren with the clarity of thought to actually remind us that there's been historically a lot more volatility in markets than what we've seen in the last 5 months.
I have to admit, I'm throwing out all these shareholder questions I had as a result, because it was what's going on with the treasury markets. Are they going to dump foreign ownership of these things? What's going to happen with the dollar? Like all of these questions that were so kind of petrified as to what was happening. I'm like, got to throw all of these out now.
They were relevant 3 weeks ago, and
now they're
we're
not.
Almost all the way back. Yeah. Although at the same time, as much as you want to take a big picture perspective and say that we've been through these crises and trials and challenges before, it does seem there's certain extraordinary things happening right now. If you were running a business, to say there's such a wide range of potential policy outcomes and what it's going to mean for the economy, right, with the tariffs. So I guess that's, the messages were all in suspense for a few months, and Warren saying, he doesn't really feel like this is the way to wage that fight.
I think that the greater challenge, though, is if you think about where we are fiscally as a country, 37.5 trillion and growing of debt. For now, more than 5 years, a debt to GDP ratio at 120% or more. I think one of the things that we have to start to come to terms with is you can't have successive years of $1.5 trillion and $2 trillion of deficits, a debt at $37.5 trillion with $1 trillion a year of interest, and not address spending. And it's not just federal spending. It's going to be municipal spending, state spending, but spending has gotten out of control. And, when you think about 5% of individual taxpayers contributing 66% of taxes and 20 companies contributing 25% of corporate taxes, we need to do a better job of making sure that we're not actually putting a greater tax burden on the U.S. I don't know that it's sustainable, but we have to start addressing spending.
But neither one of the political parties seems to have a huge appetite for really going after spending. DOGE is trying to make things more efficient, but if you don't go after some of the big ticket items, whether that's Social Security, whether it's Medicare, whether it's defense spending, if you don't go after some of the big nuts out there, not to mention interest on what we pay on all of these things, you're not going to be able to bring that down.
Well, think about it. Medicaid and Medicare in the last 4 years are up 45 to 50%.
Right.
That's just not sustainable. And then you look at the things that nobody wants to talk about. K through 12 U.S. expenditures are something in the neighborhood of $1 trillion. But we're now at a place where kids are graduating at 30% of their grade level expectation, graduating in math and science and reading at 30% of grade level. And I think, let's say there's 50 million plus people in the K through 12 system, but in almost every grade and every subject, if you're averaging 30%, and that's now 2 generations, we're not going to have a competitive workforce.